Yes, no, it's true. You can buy a business and pay no tax. It isn't clickbait. You can do it perfectly legally here in New Zealand, and a lot of people do it, and I'll tell you how to do it right now. I've talked about this before, and I've even made a video about it before, but it's quite important. So yes, you can buy a business and you can pay no tax, but how do you do that? Well, I had a client call me. They were buying a business. They were a young couple, and they were looking to buy a business. He was going to stay in his existing job and she was going to run it. So Mike and Sarah, lovely young couple, they'd done a lot of work around what business they wanted to buy and how they wanted to buy it. They'd put an offer in, they'd gone through the whole process. They even had their lawyers and their accountants do a full due diligence on the business. So they went to the bank, they got approval, they got their loan, they had their finance, everything was in order, they ticked all their boxes, and they were about to take over the business, declare the contract unconditional, and they gave me a phone call. And the phone call started with, "I can't buy the business." Now, what's going on? They'd gone through all the process, they'd checked the business out, everything was looking good. They even had finance for the cost of the business, but they were going to pull out. So I said to him, "What's going on? Why can't you buy the business?" And the answer was, well, we can't pay the GST. Now the GST, goods and services tax, it's 15% on the price of whatever you buy. And they couldn't afford to pay an extra 15% over and above the price of the business they were buying. But I said, hang on a minute, you can. And I'll show you how you can do that. You can do that without paying that GST. So for those of you who don't know, GST is a consumer tax. It's called goods and services tax. It's a value-added tax, if you like, whatever. There's plenty of them around the world. In England, I think they're called VAT. And basically what happens is when you buy a product or provide a service, you have to pay GST, goods and services tax, on top of that service. Now in this country it's 15%, and that's applied to the end. So if you buy a product, sell it to someone, 15% goes back to the government as tax, which is fine. Everybody knows about it. Now there are a few exceptions, and I won't go through those exceptions, but GST is on virtually everything you buy. Now that certainly includes the value of the business that you're going to buy, and that would be in addition to the purchase price. Now if you look at sale and purchase agreements for businesses, they always list a price. So in this case the price for the business was $500,000, 500,000 plus GST. Now GST at 15% of 500,000, well, that's 75,000. So that's a lot of money for Mike and Sarah to be able to find on top of the purchase price and on top of everything else they wanted to find. So how did we do it? What we did was we structured the deal so they didn't need to pay that GST. How does that work? I'll tell you. So as I said, GST is charged on the value of what you buy, and that's passed down the chain on the various users. So if I buy something, I pay GST on it off my supplier. If I then sell that thing again, GST is added on. But as part of the process, I get to claim that GST back on the original purchase. Now it's no different to buying a business. You're still buying a product, and then you're paying GST on it. So Inland Revenue, in its infinite wisdom, has said that GST can be rated as 0 on the sale of a business. Now that means no GST being paid, but you do need to complete a couple of things to make that GST rated 0 work. Now it's important to note that GST is still charged, but instead of being charged at 15%, it's charged at 0. So how does that work? Just like this. So in order to have the sale of the business rated as 0 for GST, a couple of things have to happen. First of all, the seller must be registered for GST, and second of all, the buyer must also be registered for GST. Now if both the buyer and seller are registered and the business meets the threshold, the inland revenue threshold of a going concern, and if you're buying a business then it most probably will do, then the GST charged is actually zero on that transaction. So very simple. Buyer and seller registered for GST, buying of a going concern, GST is rated zero. So there you have it. Pretty simple. You can buy a business and pay zero tax here in New Zealand. So you've bought your business, you've paid zero GST, but what about some training? How about some free training for that business that you've just bought? Well, if you want free training for the business you've just bought, check that video out up there. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.